Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here with Mr. Bwipo himself, the top lane connoisseur, sometimes jungle, sometimes on occasion considers mid and other roles, has played AD as well with Mr. Hilly-san. Now bootcamping in Korea. Talk to me, Bwip. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. It's been refreshing to get back into the grind. Really, it's never been the same playing international or like at home for me. I've always made it a bigger deal playing internationally. So for me, it's really refreshing to be back, and I'm really grateful that I am back. Like it's definitely something that I don't take for granted anymore. I think the first few years of my career I actually did, and I realize now that that privilege is something that I'm grateful for, and I'm really happy to be here. Like it's nice to really put myself to work, because whilst it is something that I should work on domestically, I just feel like the gravity of an international tournament is so much bigger because there's only 2 a year, and it's such a big deal, playing against the best players in the world. So I really want to go on that stage and make people think I'm like good. Like that's like fundamentally one of the reasons why I even started trying to be a pro player, because I wanted people to be able to watch me and think like, wow, this guy's insane. I want to play like that. Because when I used to watch, and I spent my time as a casual player, whenever I'd watch players like Faker, I'd be like, wow, I really want to play right now. And then whenever I'd watch players that weren't that good, I'm like, wow, really? This guy's kind of bad. And it was just like it almost feel kind of bad to watch, It's like, wow, I'm watching this shit. Like, wow, what a waste of my time. So it's like it's a bit mean, but I definitely I feel like some of the listeners will relate to that in the sense of like, if you're watching international, you really want to make sure that you're watching the best of the best, and I want people to watch me to think like, wow, this guy is actually the best of the best. So I put in more hours than I normally do for that reason, and because I know there's more people watching, and or I don't know why exactly. I guess maybe that's one of the reasons. I'm not sure why exactly, but it's been nice to be back, like really grinding. I mean, after my first split, I've also been able to reflect again, like, all right, what did I do wrong? We didn't end up winning, so what can I improve for next split? Stuff like that. But for the most part, definitely been really focused on getting to a world class level individually.
Okay. No, it's like I know from like we had our time in Iceland, like the hours and the fucking effort you put in there, and I remember you telling me the stories of how 2020, with the quarantine, and you just being in the room and you having your habit of eating, what was the baby duck or whatever it was that you ordered to the room later, and you had like your cycle of
Okay, the baby duck was a different story. Okay, I did not order any baby ducks. Yes, the baby duck was a different story. We ordered that as a team, and it was absolutely terrifying.
Okay,
but
sorry.
Yeah, so we all loved Peking duck, and that restaurant, there was like a different restaurant that we normally would go to in the hotel, and that one only had baby duck. So we were like, fuck it, it is what it is.
They're just impatient.
And for some ungodly reason, they put its entire skull and bones and everything on the fucking plate. Like they reconstructed a baby duck with the meat on it, and it was just like terrifying. Like you look into its skull and like, what the fuck? I'm eating it. Like it made you feel so bad.
Oh shit!
I would order cheeseburgers though. Like me and Hilly, yeah, that was it. Like me, Hilly, and Magic Felix. Actually, we would be in the practice room till like 4 a.m. and at 1:30, all of us would start getting hungry. So we'd make a phone call at 1:30 to the room service, and we'd order like usually just a cheeseburger, because like it was a cheeseburger or a BLT. Like that was the choices, or a club sandwich, like BLT, or like a sandwich basically. It was one or the other, and we would like, without fail, every single night get hungry around that time, and we'd just order it and eat, and we would leave the practice room at like 4, maybe 5 a.m. And like that was the shit, like that. I will say nothing, no memory in esports, like over a long-term memory. Obviously there's highs, but like no memory in all of esports like ever beat that for me.
It was such an interesting roster because it seemed like it was just like, it from all the stories, it was quite tumultuous. It's like when I joined the team, like in preparation for 2021, it's like, oh, I signed and a lot of the rosters already set. And then I remember the first conversation I had with you, we were just like, you were just reviewing to me for like 3-4 hours, like some of the issues that you faced throughout the split and some of the hardships that will carry over into the next year. If my understanding of the 2020 roster just seems like that team worked because you just had very like high functioning individuals. So it's like when it came to like playing, everyone was ready to like play, but everything in between was straining, and there was let's say pain in between. But at the end of the day, like everyone came in with like a very, very high individual level. Like on that sense, people were professionals.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree. I think for the most part, the biggest issue was simply that we just never really talked to each other. You know what I mean? Like we actually didn't sit down and like share how we felt with each other. Like, you know, what do we think of each other? Is this good? Is this bad? Like these kind of conversations we didn't have. It was just like everyone kind of mind their own business, do their own thing, and well, that's it. Like that's just the way we're gonna do things. Like for example, like Selfmade would just like we would basically assume things for other people. Like it wasn't that Selfmade would decide to play something or whatever. It was we'd assume he wanted to play that, and we just like, all right, well, this is what we're doing because well, we're assuming he wants to do that.
Yeah.
It's the same. Like for me, I think it's like pretty similar. It's just like we'd kind of just assume a lot of stuff, and I think the reason why is that because in our culture, like that was born from the fact that well, like me, Hilly, and Reckless kind of just could assume exactly what we were thinking because we'd worked together for 2 years at that point, and we'd obviously been through thick and thin. Like really, like we went from like, oh shit, we're not gonna make playoffs. Like we went from like, oh, we're winning everything to oh fuck, we're gonna miss playoffs to we lost OG third place to summer split where everything went great, and then suddenly we lose to G2, and like basically like at that point I felt like we knew each other, like we knew each other extremely well.
Was it did you guys build that bond through circumstance, or do you think it was like intentional, or do you believe it is something that can be created intentionally?
I mean, I think I don't know if it's intentionally like you can create it intentionally or like well, I'm not sure about that. I just know that it really came from a sheer force of will, of refusal to lose. It was just like we fucking hated losing in our own ways, and we had a harder time talking to each other than I'd say most teams. Like I think me and Hilly were really good at it, but it took us a long time. Like basically, I think that like it took like weeks or months of shit scrims for one of us to just give up and be like, I don't know what to do anymore. And then we would open up and be like, I need help. I don't know how to win anymore. Like I don't know what to do for us to win anymore. But like all of us would try for that period of time that we weren't like trying to find solutions together. We would try so fucking hard individually to try and make the team work and try to make whatever problem we're in work, that like none of us would even think of having the time to like talk to each other and figure it out. And that to me is like I was like thinking back, that's what I like feel like. Obviously, like this is my memory, so maybe it is biased actually.
Yeah.
But like thinking back to some of the issues we had to face, like that's honestly what happened. We would just spend so much effort trying to fix the problem ourselves that we didn't think to ask each other on how to help. And I think all three of us did the same thing, like subconsciously. And I guess we were just really good at the game, so usually the problem solved itself. But sometimes it just didn't. Like there was too big of a problem. Like I remember when we were playing set Volibear meta. So the Selfmade couldn't play the champions well early game. It's just later in the game there was a huge disconnect among what these champions should be doing and what they shouldn't be doing. Like, I think from Selfmade's perspective, as I remember it at least, it was like he'd done his job early game, so now it's our job to snowball the game as fast as possible from that point onwards and win.
It's funny that you bring this up as a point because you said but, so I'm gonna let you finish. I will bring up my story after.
Go ahead, yeah. Oh, sure, yeah. I don't mind.
Go.
So it's just like, and then obviously like everyone else is just like, well, we need one more item, you know, like what do you mean? Like just because we're ahead at 15 don't mean we just win, you know, we want to get to 2.5, 3 items. So all of us are like still in the mindset of trying to scale and farm up, and meanwhile he's taking like fights to decide the game, and we're just like, this isn't working. Right? And that's when, you know, everyone that watched that split will remember we just decided like it's better to put the like it's better to give Selfmade the reins basically and let him decide the game and pick a champion that actually can. Because if you're playing Seth and Volibear trying to make decisions that will, you know, change the course of your game, you're just gonna throw because those champions don't have the output in order to actually carry. So after a while of frustration, because it was like weeks of this, that's when I remember I sat down with Reckless in front of the hotel he was staying at, and I talked to him for like 2-3 hours straight about all our problems. And we came to the conclusion that this was the best way to win. And we shut up, put up, and I think we did an immaculate job as laners, making sure that he could play these champions in a meta where really it was dominated by champions that were absolutely disgusting gankers. Like Volibear and Set ganks and that meta with Nimbus Cloak, Blue Smite, Hex Flash, Phase Rush, Nimbus Cloak with fucking Fate. Oh my lord, it was disgusting. Like Set with Tower Dive you like it was nothing. It was disgusting playing a laner into these champions, and we just shut up and put up. We truly believed. We put in everything we had.
That was the
honestly like
I remember the
I can't. Yeah. I just wanted to say I really the year I spent off.
Yeah.
I really came to appreciate the players I used to play with. Like holy, like Hilly and Reckless, like holy fuck, they were fucking good, man. Like not just good as players, good as professionals, good as people. Like I don't remember a single time thinking like, wow, what a piece of shit, or like, wow, this guy is not trying, or wow, like nothing, absolutely nothing, not a single moment that I can remember that made me think I wouldn't trust those guys with the outcome of a League of Legends game. You know, I had moments where I was like a bit shocked or disappointed, you know, like, oh wow, really? But never from a professional level, like never did I think even a second like maybe we shouldn't, you know, maybe we shouldn't do this. Like they were really honest, and like I don't know.
The two things I want.
I'd give a lot. Sorry. I'm sorry. I'm rambling. I'm sorry. You can go ahead.
No worries. The rambling is good. You know, it's like I want to not calling you an onion, but I want to peel the onion. You know, that's always. I always had a good time doing this when we worked together, and also when we didn't. So I feel honored that you feel that you can. The only two things I wanted to bring up was, like, I made a reference that the first interaction I had with you, we reviewed exactly that, of how Selfmade was playing Volibear and Set. I remember there was a specific game where he played Set and he ganked bot, and then there was like, he ganked bot, and then after ganking bot, he just kept farming. But in reality, it was like after ganking bot, there was like you crash the wave, and then on the bounce, you can like repunish, but instead he went golems and raptors, and they were like reviewing this game, and I was like, okay, so what am I jumping into? And I remember like what I loved the most was just the sheer force of passion, because we were reviewing that game as if it happened like 30 minutes ago, but in reality it was like so many months back. And I fell in love with that right away, you know, because that level of passion is so infectious. And the one thing I wanted to share to everyone is like when you guys realized how you wanted to approach the game, it's crazy how impactful the right conversation can be, because moving into that playoffs after struggling that split, like that split was a rough one. Coming into playoffs, you guys 3-0'd Rogue, you guys were playing the Evelyns, and you guys had your combos and you cooked up, and you had, you know, you're playing in a different environment, and that was like a part of, you know, the subconscious psychology, you know, you move to a different space, and it's gonna make us play so different, and it's gonna be, you kind of let go a lot of all the shit, and you have an opportunity to kind of refine your confidence in a way, you know. There's
absolutely
such a shape up, you know, like, because I remember that very specifically, but I was watching from afar, like I was over in Korea and Sandbox at the time, and watching you guys doing your games, and you guys carried a lot of momentum over into, of course, the World Championship. You guys had your secret weapons. I remember your Volibear into the Camille. You guys annihilated TSM and so forth. It was good.
It was good.
The one thing I wanted to ask you is, with everything that we talked about, like you mentioned, it's like you've come to appreciate, those boot camps that you go through. You've come to appreciate, like the characteristics of former teammates, and it's very easy in the moment to always think about how the grass would be greener, but in any team there will be a sense of friction. But now you come from a position where you are very, very experienced, and now you had last year off. I wanted to ask you, how many of like the issues that you face as a team, how well can a group of people prepare themselves for what's to come? Because the issues that teams face are always so common, right? It's like whenever anyone talks about how their best experience in a team, it's like, oh, we were all bonding together, we were talking together about the game, we were all bought into what we were trying to achieve, and people were kind of like feeding each other with each other's spoons in a way. And the issues that come up with scrims and all these things. And now, from your point of view, with this experience, how much can you prepare for as a season begins, you think, in your mind?
I mean, as an individual or as a team?
As a team.
That's a very different. As a team, I think it's it's extremely important that you define success and what a successful day looks like, because I think that's where a lot of disconnect comes for people that are practicing, and especially players to coaches to the whole environment. Really, I've been really blessed with having great coaches, so I realized, like, I never had a coach that made me think like, wow, this guy's fucking bad or like stupid or something. Like, I never had that.
Yes.
I always had great coaches, that I'm always better friends with than others, but ultimately, like, I always like really respected the coach I worked with, and I was always bought into what they were selling. And I think a part of the culture that we had in Fnatic for a while was also the fact that like we played the way Hilly wanted to play, and the coaches bought into that usually, and we played that way, like that's how we played our mid game macro. It was efficient, it wasn't anything crazy. Like, it made sense. Like, it wasn't anything special or crazy or like creative, or everyone needed to know what they were doing. Like, it was simple. Like, it wasn't like elaborate. It was just everyone, mid wave is really important. We need to make sure we contest mid waves, and then we play from there, right? And then we learn all the small things we do and how we branch off. But the thing is we were all bought into that idea, and none of us changed our minds on like whether that's a good strategy or a bad strategy, or we're a bad team or a good team. Like, you're not even spending energy thinking like this is good or bad. All your energy is in what your job is and how to execute. And I think that is the number one responsibility that a professional player has, is to execute the job that they're given.
Yes.
And the number one job for a staff from a professional team is to define the job. What do you need to do to make this team successful? And catering to that is what makes a team or breaks a team. Because when you have players, I heard about this, like sometimes some teams in Europe or in NA, they're like, they don't want to play tank champions, or top laners especially. They don't want to play tanks. It goes against their branding, or it goes against what they believe in, or whatever bullshit, And it's just like, it's just lost, like, how can you come back from that? It's you need to be willing to do anything that your staff describes as the best way for your team to win, and if you're not good at it, you need to put in the hours to get good at it, right? End of story. There's nothing else in between that. So for me, preparing a team before a split or before an event or whatever that is helping people understand you need to be willing to do anything, no matter what that looks like. Now, I can't define what that looks like without actually seeing the practice, but the point and ultimate truth of what I'm saying is in practice, your best players will reveal themselves, whether you like it or not. That's just the way it is. You're going to have a best player and you're going to have a worst player. And there's nothing wrong with being the worst player on a great team. I was the worst player on a fantastic team in 2018. I did my job. I was made sure. Yeah, like they made sure. My staff made damn sure I understood. I was responsible for exactly one thing: stability. I needed to make sure the game did not explode in a way that Caps and Reckless couldn't carry. If I had to TP, if I had to do whatever, that's it. That's what I needed to do. Well, I give them more credit maybe than I should, because honestly, a lot of it was what I realized from watching the team play. So I'd spend a lot of time watching the team play. But at the end of the day, I think they did a good job of making sure they understood that, and they drafted that way. You know, you don't remember me in 2018 from playing Camille every game or whatever.
Yes.
Yep. Good night. You remember me from playing Ornn and Gangplank. That's what you remember.
Yes.
I mean, actually, was Ornn a thing in 20? Yeah, he was. Yeah, no, yeah, he was. Yeah, I was thinking, was he a thing? No. Sion, Ornn, Gangplank. That's what I played. Sion, Ornn, Gangplank. Sion, Ornn, Gangplank. And then Urgot. What does Urgot do? He was a scaling champion that was stable. He farmed his creeps. Victor fit the build. That's why I played Victor. Swine fit the build. That's why I played Swine. I didn't deviate. I didn't do anything special. And once I had spent a whole year being a role player, being the worst player on a great team, that's when I could evolve as a player and find my own space and understand this is what I truly excel at. This is what I'm supposed to do. But I really think so many teams completely misunderstand the idea of introducing a new player to a team, and they just don't do a good job of making sure that that responsibility is given responsibly. You know, like a lot of teams are like, well, I got this guy from solo queue and he's 1v9 in solo queue, so I'm going to give him all the resources and then put all the burden on him, and then they try it for a little while and then just give up on them.
Yes.
It just don't work that way. It took me many games. It took me an entire MSI. I spent the entirety of MSI being a bit of a bot, honestly. 2018 MSI, I was a bit of a bot. Like I was not able. They gave me the Camille games. They tried to see if I would carry my team, and I didn't. And they realized, all right, in this team, this doesn't work. And the reality and the truth was, I wasn't good enough.
It's always it's like in terms of bringing a player to the team, I think sometimes people struggle to translate what conditions people can be impactful in, right? I think it's the same conversation of like whenever there's like an MVP vote or like an All-Pro vote, sometimes players are in games where they have greater opportunities to do more by design and sometimes not by design. A good example, of course, is like Milky Way, right? It's like Milky Way, FPX, everyone's bought into the idea on that team, and at the same time, you know, a lot of the conditions of the games that presented themselves gave them opportunities to really, really, you know, overperform, so to speak. But in the conversation of would this be a player that would translate that performance everywhere? It's like that's a player that runs the risk of, he gets moved into a different team and then he is in a different condition altogether, and then the expectation is he's going to perform the same. That is where like the danger lies in, and this comes to effect in many aspects. It's like when I brought over Mowgli to 2019 Vitality, something that I didn't consider really was back in Africa Freaks, he was the youngest player there, so everyone took care of him in a way that is very common in, of course, Korean culture, and in terms of how the teams function. Like, he's the little brother, he's taken care of, he needs to be surrounded by role models in a way, he needs to be pushed to really, really practice, and he needs to feel that demand, right? It's like I worked in Sandbox, and like we had 10 PCs, like 15 PCs, because we had 5 coaches and 10 players PCs. These PCs were always running, and you could hear the keyboards tapping, and the energy in the room was, if you sit around and do fucking nothing, you're just a piece of shit. And you feel it like this, you know? And that pressure makes it so easy to work hard. It's like, you and me, we're always going to work hard, but how easy it is to work hard definitely changes depending on the circumstance, right?
Absolutely,
I'm sure that you can relate. And it's like,
no, for sure, yeah.
We move a play like Mowgli, right? And then, you know, Jizuki had the way to get his form, and Kabo has a very specific way to get his form. He was sat between them. He drew ideas from them, and you know, he couldn't translate his performance because all of those circumstances that made him pop were not the same circumstances that we put him in, of course, in Vitality, and that took a lot of time to help him adjust. And in the end, we weren't quick enough. We got pentakilled by Nemesis Gale in our desperation game of playing Jace, Yasuo, Gragas. I don't know if you recall that one. Nevertheless,
I remember the pentakill. I don't remember the draft. No.
It was one of those drafts when you know that you are outclassed and you're like, all right, guys. Let's see. Let's throw the champions that you guys have squeezed a little bit too many solo queue games on for your own entertainment. Let's see how they work. A little Jace Thresh, Draven, Yasuo, Gragas draft. Something like this. I don't remember the bot name specifically, but one of those. But
makes sense.
It's interesting how you always have to judge players through the lens of circumstance. Because this extends to so many topics in League. I think it's the same thing for champions. It's like Lucian Army is something that's discussed so often. And a lot of Western teams, they lock in Lucian Army because the other teams do. They figure out how to lane on it, but they don't figure out how to win and why it wins or what needs to be, what are the conditions these champions thrive under in order to actually achieve victories. What happens around them? How do they How does the game actually play itself out? Because everything kind of stops in, they picked this, I should pick this, I learn how to lane with it. And then in terms of how the stage matches go, usually it goes a little bit deeper in terms of the chess game of actually winning a game, because the resistance is not quite the same in practice.
Makes sense, yeah.
It definitely goes deeper, and it bleeds into everything, the definition of what do you do and what does your champion do in terms of beating the game. I think this is something that you really, really made me think about in a different way. I think in regards to this split, I didn't catch all the games, I have to say that, but I caught a lot of the playoffs. I caught, some of the games during the regular split. I remember back in 2021, I think the first spring split, we had so many challenges. I think that you pressured yourself very, very hard to be the solution to every problem. I think that this is what you want to do. I think that you tried very, very hard to find a unique champion that would cut through all the 9 other champions to really make you the driving force. And I think in that it was quite, let's say, overwhelming in a sense. It when it worked, it was really, really good. You had that Riven angle with, for some reason, Genax blind pick Vladimir, and there was moments where that approach really shone through. But there were, of course, moments where you were spread too thin in a way, and then we moved into, of course, the summer. You jungled, and you approached that in a way that was simply incredible in terms of the responsibility you took upon yourself. I honestly think that split in isolation, you were the best jungler in Europe. It was you put Inspired in the dirt in the BO5. I remember that, and then you had the matchup against Elioya. Mad Lions was just a better team than us, but I still remember that Zin's out 2 points in W. Fuck me, man.
Such a sad thunder.
It was a rough one.
I didn't even realize. That game was still free though.
Yeah. And I remember, the
so
Worlds
fair,
games, the Scrim game where you played Viego against Tarzan Kiana when we scrimmed LNG. It was the game where Adam played Cannon against Malphite, and Malphite was solo killing him. It was Ale level 2. And then you said, no, we are going to play this game because I can carry this game. In the stage games, you fucking had the Graves run against Willer. I can reminisce for a long time about your jungle games, but the reason I bring all of this up is I remember in the conversation we had individually, you wanted to go back to top lane to really redeem yourself, because you had a reputation. 2020, you found yourself in a way. You were impactful at the World Championship. You had a reputation to you were one of the fucking great, and still are one of the great Western top laners. Now, after the Team Liquid run and now in the FlyQuest, do you feel tying it back to what you mentioned before? It's you want to be a player that, of course, when people watch you play, you want to people to feel inspired to play the game. How have you reflected on your split so far? How does it feel to be back in the top lane in a way where seemingly I think that you are more impactful again?
I mean, definitely more impactful back in top lane than I was in spring 2021. That's for sure.
Yeah.
That no doubt about that in my mind. But for the most part, for me, Yeah, I mean that was a big ham sandwich.
Now you know how it feels.
Yeah, no, it's nice. It's nice. For me, I feel like right now I'm not there yet.
Okay.
For me, like when great players watch me, I want them to think like, "Holy fuck, this guy's good," you know? Like that experience I had with 369 where he like recognized me from solo queue.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was like, "Holy shit, this guy's Urgot is really good. Like I can't beat this guy."
Nice.
Or like it's hard to beat this guy. Like
Yeah,
it's an effort to try and beat this guy. That for me is where I want to be back, and I don't think I'm there right now. So
Okay.
that's also what drives me really hard to keep practicing right now, especially in Korea and in China as well. Like I really want people when I lock in the same champion everyone else locks in, they think like, Jesus Christ, this guy's hard to beat. Like don't give not an edge, not a centimeter, you know. Jungle gank don't matter. Like fall behind don't matter. Like it's just always hard to beat and very difficult to deal with because I've always thought to myself like my mother taught me treat people the way you want to be treated, and I always flipped that psychology. Like in a competition, like behave the way you don't want to like have to deal with someone. Like you know what I mean? Like behave in a way that you do not want your opponent to be behaving.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So a lot of the philosophy of how I play the game is kind of built from that. You know, it's like just try to be as annoying as possible. Just make them fucking hate playing against you, like loathe it. You know, when they load in, it's like for fuck's sakes, it's this guy again. And I think me and Hilly lived up to that really well. Like I was shocked. It was like I don't remember which year it was, but it was like 2020 maybe. Like going into from 2020 to 2021 was like when I realized how many people like were fucking shit scared of playing against me and Hilly. Like it was like they just didn't know what was gonna happen, and not in a good way. You know, they were like they were not looking forward to playing against us because they thought, shit, like we might get fucked, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I think that when you guys were bot lane together was the epitome of that. Because
yeah, it
it's
makes
like
sense.
we spent the whole week trying to catch up to where the fuck you guys were playing, and then you come into the next game, and then all of a sudden Swain and Alistar is locked in, and there's a combo we barely knew about, and we're getting dragged on Alistar W, and we're getting fucking fist fucked. that was giga scary times.
There's not a single LEC bot lane that didn't get caught off guard by that one, I'll tell you that much. Every single bot lane, like, with Dizzy. Like, he would start W level 1 on Alistar, and back when Swain could pull, you could pull him through him. And so I would preemptively E on Swain, and then we'd play Aftershock Alistar, and you just all in with Alistar level 1 with Ignite, and we just all in level 1, and people they just didn't know, didn't expect it at all. This is also back in the meta where people were playing Mage's bot, right? So you weren't dealing with like really strong AD carries level 1.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it worked against everyone. I remember distinctly Hansama as well. Like he was the first guy we did it to. It was the first guy we did it to. So I just distinctly remember that. But for me, it was like I think that's what really like that's what clicked. You know, it's like whenever if I had to give anyone advice on like how to understand Hillies, like just try to think about it this way. What would your opponent not hate for you to do? A lot of it boils down to that. And a lot of people undervalue that as spectators because they don't have the notion of like they don't really understand the game that deeply of like, wow, what this guy is doing is like it's really breaking my pace of the game, you know? Like it's making it hard for me to carry this game because he's just permanently giving me a hard time trying to carry. So for me, something that I came to appreciate about him very quickly, and ultimately, you know, when we were playing bot lane together, that's what we were about, you know. That was the strat. It's I was just like, man, if someone plays like Rakan, like it must be really annoying playing against Alistar and Galio, because Galio can channel, like he can stop his taunt as soon as Rakan press W, and then it interrupts his dash completely.
Yeah.
So I played Alistar Galio bot lane with Hilly. You know, I was like,
against us.
Playing. Yes, my Nocturne lane gang bot lane and gave Uzziah a triple kill, which I'm still salty about. But 2v2, that Rakan could not play. He W'd in once, he regretted it very quickly. Actually, no, he didn't even W in. I flashed on his head and one-shot him. But for me, that type of thinking was like that was like a lot of it, and I think it is actually a good way to look at the game, especially when you start playing against the greats. When you're playing against really good players, turns out they're really insane because they do specific things. So when you start breaking their ability to do specific things and like attacking their habits, they bleed. You know, they're great. They're really fucking good.
Yeah.
But they bleed.
It's like there's moments in time where like you scream against someone and you are just kind of, ooh, damn. You're like kind of, it's like it doesn't jump into review. It's like we have to like I have to pause for a moment. It's like, damn, they are fucking good. Let's take a look at what they're doing, man. Damn, what just happened to us? You know, I remember like the first game against IG we scrimmed in 2018. You know, and I remember speaking to Young Buck back then, and he was telling me it's like we scrimmed against RNG, and like what they were doing to us is like we had to relearn how to lane swap because it just didn't really work for us. You know, like I remember him telling me this, and we had RNG in our group, and you guys had IG in your group, and I was like, yeah, IG, bro. It's like everything was a war. It's like sometimes people say, you know, a little. It's like he won the battle, but not the war. But when screaming against IG, like every single minion was a war. Everything was. It's like the players had to rethink all conveniences that they have gotten used to because every single like minion that they were last sitting was such a big decision because they would like be on you, they would squeeze, and they would die to ganks, but they wouldn't let up. You know, they wouldn't let up. They would just keep going, and eventually we would lose because their resilience and their meticulousness eventually caught us in a point where we just weren't ready. And I was just like, whoa. Watching Prime Rookie, or like Prime the Shy lane in a way was marvelous. Jackie Love too, and then Ning and Balan as well.
They were pretty good.
Pretty damn good. You guys managed.
They were pretty good.
You managed to get out the first seed out of the group still, which was massive.
Well, I mean, we take those. I mean, it did give us a nice ticket to the finals for sure. If we had to play KT, I'm not so sure we would have won. Not so sure we would have lost either, but I wouldn't say we would have won. I wouldn't say with confidence we would have won, but they were fucking good. They were really good. I think we scrimmed against them a lot, actually, like a lot. Because obviously near the end, like during the event, we thought like this is the last time we'll see each other because we were like KT's gonna take them out, and they were probably like, yeah, we're not seeing those guys again. So like we scrimmed each other a lot. So I can definitely tell you that from top lane perspective, what you're saying is true.
Fucking squeezer, man. They looked in Fiora.
That guy, he would not let up. Neither did I. I remember distinctly a game where I solo killed him twice as Victor. He was playing Irelia, and I played Victor top, and I solo killed him twice in like 4 minutes, and then he solo killed me twice, and then we just kept trading solo kills from that point onwards for the rest of the game, and it was just merciless. Like, it was like as if no one else on the team existed. Like we just didn't care. Like just have to hit each other. It's the same thing. I don't know. I had the same problem when I played against Nuguri. It's like no one else mattered. It's like I have to kill that guy, and he had to kill me, and it was just that was it.
Nuguri is definitely that person. Like Summit hated him. Like we were screaming against Damon in 2020, and I had similar moments. Like damn, these guys are fucking good. You know, I was like damn, these guys are about to win the world championship. You know, I was screaming back then, like during LCK regular split, and Summit hated him. He's like. He just stood up one day. He's like, I don't understand how he's allowed to do this, because Beryl would always show up. Like his teammates would always be there first, you know, to the fucking war, and it could be like he could be playing just as you described, you know, just fucking never let up. And Summit was the same way, but his homies just came first. What can we do?
Yeah, my homies blocked the movements from the map, you know. Beryl could never influence. Beryl could never influence top lane. That would not be allowed. That would not be allowed. Ghost would be suffering if that were the case.
Yeah.
Like that, like, man, so much, so like, one of my favorite things in the world. I don't know, like people listening might think like, wow, these guys are just glazing, but like one of my favorite things in the world is reminiscing the good old days, man.
Yeah.
Like I'm more than happy to make more memories, but I will never be able to relive my first years of competitive, and like honestly, like I mentioned earlier, I really came to appreciate especially what Hilly and Reckless brought to my table, you know? Like as a person, like the fact that I got to taste all that competition, you know, what it meant to be the best in the world. The fact that I could even be in a headspace where I could simply focus on only myself and excel as a excel only based on my performance, I didn't have to worry about them, never. I never had to maybe I should review with them or whatever. Never, they were such good leaders for me, because they had so many years of experience, this is what really gets me when I think about it, is the fact that these guys were playing for 6-7 years before I even showed up. It's crazy, because everyone that I talk to and everyone in my chat and all the fans are just oh, remember Reckless, Hilly, and Bwipo and Fnatic, everyone reminisces about those days, but dude, those guys were around for so much longer than that. I even have a hard time remembering it,
Well, I played together with Reckless in a team back in season 1 too.
There you fucking go, holy. A blast from the past completely, and it's just the fact that they really gave me that space to be a great player. Nothing but gratefulness at the end of the day. I had my issues, I had complaints, and I just realized how ungrateful I was to even consider any of those things at any point. For the most part, I was extremely happy playing with them, and they were fantastic, but there's times where I was a bit picky, and I was just whatever Reckless is doing is fox me off when he does that or whatever, And I just realized now, that I didn't even consider, how much breathing room they gave me and how much space they gave me to truly come into myself as a player. And honestly, thinking now in FlyQuest and where I'm at, I really want to be a top laner that can do that for my rookies. I really want to be someone that they really they feel like they never have to spend a single second worrying about anything that I do or whatever, because they know that I'm going to perform, and they know that I'm going to be there, and they can run it down a bit, they can int a bit, they can do whatever they want. It doesn't matter. I will be there, and I will make sure the game is good and winnable. Because that's really how I felt playing with them. And I had my Camille games at MSI where I was getting carried, being useless, and I just couldn't carry them. We played Camille, Talia, Asol, Talia or Asol, because it was a strategy that we felt like we had to use against RNG, because we weren't going to win front to back, and this was our bread and butter, right? The whole split is front to back, reckless scale and team fight. Against RNG, it just didn't work. It never worked in scrims. It just kept either early was too hard or mid late, fucking, what's his name? I forgot his name. The Orn guy. Oh my god. What was his name?
Fucking...
Let me. Yeah. Fucking Let Me, or Uzi, or they were just better at it. As a team, as individuals, they were just better at it. And we cooked up the strat to play Camille, and we'd give them Orn and play Camille into it, or let him play tank and play Camille into it, and we'd play Asol plus Camille. Yeah, literally. We're just we have to do this. Is we don't know how else to win. And my team gave me the opportunity. I tried. I simply wasn't good enough. I didn't cut it that event, and they never faulted me for it. They never blamed me for it. They never, no one ever even talked to me about it, But I guess now through maturity, I realized my team never really brought back that kind of strategy, because everyone on my team kind of knew that I shouldn't have that kind of responsibility yet.
Yeah.
And I guess I just came to appreciate that over the years they slowly actually grew into giving me that kind of responsibility, and pretty awesome feeling, really, knowing that you were supported from the very start, and no one ever you never really realized how much of a burden you kind of were. Because even in metas where it's Irelia, Akali, were flexed as top laners, and people were playing my team never made me play that in 2018. They let me play Urgot. And I thought I was doing such a good job of being one of the best Urgot players in the world, but really I was kind of letting people down. I let Caps down because I couldn't flex Akali and Irelia. And I thought I was doing him a favor letting him play those champions, but really it was me that wasn't good enough.
It seems
no one ever made me feel that way on that team. And that's why I never realized in a way, but at the same time, now that I reflect, I realize shit, I let them down. And
I appreciate your candidness on this, but to me, what you're describing is growth, right? I think we go through life not appreciating things that are happening real time, and we reminisce. It's like this a cliche thing to say, but the good old days. It's how to be aware of them being ongoing while they are ongoing. You know, you always take a look back and you come to realization about these things, and you begin to realize what you appreciate, and it also shapes who you want to be. So it's very, very nice to hear that side from you, and how you extend that now to the FlyQuest homies. I think that's super, super cool. That's super cool. It's like
I can do a better job, but it's what I want to be able to do. You know, like it's what I'm working on, and you know, I hope I get there.
How did the intro to the year, like you were now 2022, sorry 2023, for some godforsaken reason Bwipo didn't play. You came into the FlyQuest situation, and of course now you're joining a team. You have your ideas, your expectations in terms of how you prepared yourself and everyone involved, and how was the process of connecting, and how was the process of you trying to leverage your experience to shape the environment in a way that you believe is fruitful? How did you go about it?
Honestly, I did it by accepting that the top laner shouldn't have much responsibility when it comes to that.
Okay.
You know, my experience told me top lanes sticking your nose in bot lane's business or mid lane's business is not the top laner's job.
Okay.
Neither in the jungler's business. The top laner's job is to be exceptionally good in the 1v1, never lose his matchup if you can, and scale and carry.
Okay, but that's from the game perspective, right? It's like that's your role as a top laner, but your role as a teammate,
Ooh.
right? And a role as the role as a potential leader. How do you view that, or is it the same way?
It's kind of the same. I think Inspired does a fantastic job of leading.
Okay.
I don't feel like I ever have to step in, or the only thing I do is remind people that it's what they do is enough. You know, I think that's for me is like, as long as you put in effort on a day-to-day basis, that is sufficient. You don't need to do more. What you're doing is sufficient to win. You know, and when it's insufficient, I'll step in. Usually, Inspired points that out very well, but
Okay.
when people misunderstand and they think that what they're doing is enough, and like I will step in and also help him reiterate the point if necessary. Like, this is not enough. Like, this is enough. This is not enough.
Okay.
And just basically trying to help people understand like how much effort they're putting in, and whether it's a sufficient amount of effort or not.
Okay.
That's what I'm trying to do. And like, obviously, I don't want to be the police of what works for who. Like, just when it comes to scrims, like that's what really is important to me. Is like that people are showing up and they understand. Like, all right, so, like, they're coming in prepared. They're coming in with the right idea of what they want to play, how they want to play it. Like, this for me is what I want to focus on, and that's what I'm trying to help people understand, because I think that's where there's not enough structure in our team. So I'm really trying to focus on that, especially now going into MSI, is make sure that people are like really, really heads up on the matchups they really want to play and don't want to play, and what it looks like to prepare like sufficiently for that, because I do think that it's pretty hard to do. And it's basically not easy to come to a conclusion of what you absolutely should and shouldn't play, but breaking down what looks like basically successful match prep when it comes to your pick ban. That's what I'm kind of trying to do, especially help the bot lane with, and that's most of what I do, which is not that much, but that's what I try to do outside of the game. Make sure that people feel good about what they pick and that they really believe in those picks, because I think that's really important, And obviously also help everyone else around them like believe in that, It's like, hey, like, one of our players really believe in this, like, I think we should all buy in and we should do it all together.
Okay. That's very important. You mentioned working with Inspired. There was a little stint that I didn't really care too much about. He had the post finals interview, but I just thought that this is a man that is unfiltered, and he probably speaks the same way and in a team environment, and he just speaks his mind. This is how I've judged Inspired and understood Inspired. So I guess that when he doesn't leave the status quo under a certain standard. That's how I interpret Inspired, And I think in the process of achieving that, if people are gonna get their feelings hurt, then that's a risk that you should take in order to kill any sense of mediocrity. But I'm just working with very small pieces. So my question to you: how is it to work with Inspired?
It's been nothing but great for me. Best way I can describe him right now would be like allergic to bad play.
Okay. He uses the word vegan often.
Yeah, he does. But he's like ginger in your tea.
Okay.
Sometimes you don't like it being there because it's very striking and it jumps out at you. But it's
healthy.
a good thing.
It's healthy.
Very healthy for your team, and it is only a good thing. And I think that the people that think his approach does not work are vegans.
It is funny that ginger is the vegan product, though.
you need to have someone calling out bullshit on your team, and I don't know about other teams. Like for me, like I said, 3 of my years, like no one needed to call out bullshit in Fnatic for the most part, because the first people that would realize they're fucking up or they're starting to, like slip were our core, Me or Hilly or Reckless would slip up even a centimeter, we would tell. It would get fixed.
Yeah.
It was unacceptable. Like, not for reasons of like someone would flame me or anything like that, just because I think out of sheer, respect for the organization. And that's actually something that I really... That really, like, strikes me now that I think about it. But, like, I actually think me, Reckless, and Hilly had, like, a lot of respect for Fnatic. And the name and the org and how we carried ourselves as players in that org. Like, we wanted to be the very fucking best. Not just in Europe, we wanted to be the best ever.
You carried a lot of history.
And I have a hard time. I think it's one of the reasons why people loved us as much as they did as players, because I think people could feel that we really cared about the brand, And I think esports actually has a lot to learn about that. I think G2 is doing a great job with it right now, actually, in terms of branding and in terms of like the players carrying that legacy. I think they put in the necessary work to live up to it,
Yes.
But I can't say the same for many orgs.
It's very rare, for sure. I think for the longest time, I think it's in essence the same. Like 2018 Vitality, we designed ourselves to try to beat you guys. It's like we wanted to beat Fnatic, like us playing those best of ones or whatever match we had. That was an event for us. It's like you walk into those games and you feel like this is where, like, if let's say, like confidence and everything that you believe in competitively is like a game of risk. This is like our chance to like win some land, or like to gain some very important traction. And those games carried weight. And always when you play against, and it was the same for me as a player back in earlier seasons when I played season 1, 2, 3. I remember when in season 3. I played against SOAS, and it was the DLO star and rated Expected Cyanide roster. I'm playing fucking Malphite into his Jace, and I'm feeling, in that game, I want to beat the shit out of them, because I know how good they are, and how much of a legacy they carry. And that's been true for so long. And I agree with the notion that G2 carries that sentiment. I think I guess in North America has been very, very up and down, right? Because there were periods where Team Liquid was just that, right? And now they won the championship against you guys and they are making a resurgence. There was time where TSM was that, CLG was that. It's been very, very, sporadic, the North American history in terms of those legacy organizations. Who would you say is that currently in North America? Or is that just... do you feel like the organizational
I don't know.
part of it.
I don't know. I
Depends
guess
anyway.
C9 had that for a bit. C9
yeah.
had it in 2021 near the end for summer, and then obviously now carried it over into 2023. Sorry, 2022, and then 2023, and then like now they had a bit of a disaster. So
Yes.
no longer. I think TL can build up to it, and honestly, I really hope that I can set that kind of culture for FlyQuest because I think it'd be awesome. Like that's how I feel. No other orgs really come to mind, but like the opposite comes to mind very quickly. Like when I think of TSM and the way they've fallen, like they started hiring people that were not interested in upholding that kind of legacy
Yes.
and living up to that kind of name and having that kind of output as individual players. Because that's what it really is all about. As much as an organization is about the brand power and the power of the team, the individual players have to, they have to do it. They're the people responsible for doing it, and I think that, no offense to Fnatic 2022, but it's even 2021. Like it got watered down. Like no offense to the people that I played with, but it was watered down compared to what it was in 2020, 2020. Oh, sorry, the 3 years that I played. The 3 out of the 4 years I played first. It was watered down, the org. People were content with losing to G2. It was okay to. I can say safely that it was not that case for 2020, 2018, 2019. Like it was not okay to lose. It never was. And like us beating G2 in 2021, it didn't even feel that sweet.
I loved it.
It was great, but honestly, it wasn't what I wanted. Reckless needed to be on my side of the team, like on my side of the rift, for it to really have been juicy, because
it was kind of the Game of Thrones ending for you. Like it was the last season just wasn't it?
It really was, yeah. It really was. Even though that the last best of 5 I played the last best of 5 I played against G2 and I ended up winning, it wasn't good enough for me.
You were Jon Snow and Reckless was Khaleesi.
I don't know about that. Let's not go there. But
you had to stab her, to save the city. It's painful. Your brother's on the other side, and then you had to go north beyond the wall. You went to North America,
like they weren't at full strength and we weren't at full strength, and it was the it was just the aftermath, at that point it wasn't the same, and that's how I feel right now. Yeah, people might hate on me for saying it. It's my feelings. I don't care. This is how I feel, and I fully acknowledge that it might not be fair to the people I played with. I was very privileged to play with good players, and every single team I played with, I don't think individual player skill was ever a limiting factor for my success, and I'm extremely grateful for that.
No,
I think at the end of the day, I could have succeeded in any roster, but I still think that Fnatic lineup and those 3 players for me, we were what upheld the culture of what made Fnatic, and I will say with confidence that we were able to live up to the standard, the precedent, like the standard that our ancestors in Fnatic set for us. We even exceeded them. I'd say.
I understand where you come from. I don't think it's necessarily negative what you're saying. I think you're just appreciating the greatness of actual elite players, because there's not many of them, right? Elite players are the players that might, let's say an elite player, they are told in 2 weeks you're going to face up against who is considered the best player in your position, and they're going to be able to put up a fight,
Yeah.
And the names that you can count, the names that are those players, there are just simply not many, right? I think the 2018, 2019 era, I think what was very good about that era of Fnatic and G2 specifically, right? And also coming into 2020 was, it's the elite players were gathered on the same 2 teams, And to appreciate that, I think is not to put down anything else.
I talked about this on my stream, and I said that in 2019 and 2020 especially, all 10 best players are on those two teams. Like the 10 best players in the league were on those two teams. You could rank them in any order you want. I don't care, but no one would argue that we were not top two of the roles, and the only team that had players that would compete with us were the opponents. Yeah, there were some outliers that maybe, but every player came with its holes. Every player had their problem. Like maybe you could argue, oh, maybe Alfari was better than me, maybe, but there are too many holes in Alfari's gameplay when it comes to the whole of playing League of Legends to truly come to that conclusion, in my opinion.
No, of course.
At least over the course of all 3 of those years, and as much as I'd love to have been the best, I wasn't, and I still believe that we had the 10 best players, and you'd have to make an argument for someone to even, disagree with that. You'd have to really try to argue for someone.
No, I think
because the reality was that
I think
we were the best.
Definitely, it's like if you look at the body of work and how someone would like approach an off season, post a season. I think those are the conversations. It's like there were definitely players like on occasion that really like peaked and had like good weeks and maybe good splits that could be in the conversation. But I think usually like the most difficult thing about League is being good and being able to find greatness again over a very long period of time, right? It's like being able to figure out the same problems in the context of any meta and not to lose any will in the process of pursuing like great level again. I think that's always like the challenge, It's like usually the names that come around and were at the top, there was the usual suspects. And there were definitely splits. It's like I think of my own teams, right? It's like 2018. It's like I think we had moments where we were really, really good with the Vitality roster, right? And I think there were moments where Jizuki was fucking crazy. There were moments where Cabo was really, really good. So I think that, but there was like moments where we were an outlier due to strategic prowess and like peaking at the right time. Like we were the first ones to like 3-stack waves and to dive top with Rise, right? And that was like we had like an edge there. And then when we finally got into playoffs and we played against Fnatic and you guys prepped for us in terms of one playoffs was of course the dive top and we were trying to build an advantage, and the other one was where we went through a split where we wanted to like our strategy was we were gonna like Caps was the fork that people were trying to stick in our eyeball as we were playing, so we're just gonna attack him. We had like Gilius had this theory that Zach was the counter to Caps, so because he just would die to every Zach gank for some fucking reason, and we played 2 Zach games, and then when we came into playoffs once again, it was like, oh, Rockstar and fucking Caps have sat down and fucking figured out how to play 2v2 mid, and I was like, fuck me, yeah. It's like so just to reiterate that and to support your point, because maybe some people out there would like misunderstand it. There were players that were really, really good in moments of time, but that longevity is what we are speaking to. Being able to find form where it ultimately matters is what makes you a contender to, of course, win a championship. Because even though there were moments maybe where that Vitality roster was the best, when it came to winning the championship, it's like we got 3rd and 4th. We weren't in finals even. So looking now, FlyQuest, back in action, Bwipo, how do you're a perfectionist. So I understand that when I say that, ask the question, like when you look back at the split, are you proud? I understand that you're a perfectionist and there's going to be things that you would want to do different and so forth. But are you content? Are you happy with the split? What are the takeaways after the finals, of course? How do you feel looking back at the split, and how will that carry over to, of course, the next challenge?
For me, I've been pretty happy with my split. I think I did a really good job of just staying level-headed and playing, like understanding that what I do is sufficient. Like I don't have to make miracles happen. Miracles will come if you let them come. And I've never had to play a miracle game in the split because my team always played really good, and we were confidently one of the best teams in the league. I'd even say the best team. Up until the finals, where I think I wasn't able to fulfill the role that I needed to. Definitely a regret of not highlighting our strengths as individual players. I think that I don't think we played to our strengths in the finals, is what I'll say. And I played towards my own comfort as an individual player, relying on good old picks like Gangplank and Urgot, because that was comfortable for me in a stressful situation. But really, I think that was a byproduct of being nervous.
Okay.
Like, I was nervous and I relied on those champions because they were what brought me so much success over the years.
Okay.
But really, that's not what my team needed. And that's my biggest takeaway and regret for the split, where I want to make sure that I don't let my own anxiety usurp what I know is true.
Oh, I see. Leading into the preparation, how did scrimming work in North America? Because you guys, I guess there were 3 teams in the end, right? Or how?
Yes.
There was 3 teams in the end.
Not much of scrimming at all. Not much scrimming at all.
Okay.
That's how it worked. Like, not much of anything.
There's
just
the theory crafting.
Scrim against each other. Yeah, scrim against each other and fake data the shit out of each other.
Nice.
Because, who knows who's going to play the finals? All they know is FlyQuest is waiting, but whether it's TL or C9, we don't know.
There was no one that pulled the special Yamato move. I don't know if you know about the special Yamato move that I pulled back in 2016. So there was a regional qualifier, right? And we were 4 teams. And we knew pretty much that we were going to play Unicorns of Love in the finals, because I think that, if I remember correctly, we had the highest seed. So I just made an agreement with all of the teams that they get to scrim us if they cancel all scrims with Unicorns of Love. And then they were very unhappy, understandably so, right? Because it was a very cutthroat move. And to some, maybe people are going to be unhappy with the fact that I did it, because some people were angry. But the phrase that I said back then was, they have my sympathy, but not my regret, because I want to fucking win, like,
yeah, makes sense.
This is a gangster move I would never ask my players to do, but a gangster move that I need to be able to do, because I want to act in the best interest of the players, and we won. So to some degree it worked. It would have been fucked if we lost. That would have been, them just slapping me in the face in the hardest way possible.
That would have been rough, yeah. Blacklisted the rest of the year? I mean, honestly, you're probably blacklisted anyway, no?
Yeah, it's just one of those things, It's like people begin with a little blacklist, and then out of inconvenience, it kind of fades away. You remember the whole fucking G2 blacklist thing that Young Buck wanted to enact? I don't know, it was due to like poaching, whatever the fuck happened back then. And at some point I was like, what are we actually gaining from blacklisting G2? I was like, we're going to scrim G2 with barcode names, and like, what's going to happen to us? Are we going to get blacklisted too? Fuck it, man. We're just going to do it in secret, There was nothing that was going to happen to us. I remember that. I think it was 2019. Crazy.
Could be, I don't remember. I guess now that you mention it, I vaguely remember. Something that popped into my mind is actually, what I was thinking about is like, I remember I was with my girlfriend when I had the news that Caps was gonna leave, and I was like, it's a damn shame. And she was like, isn't that a big deal? He's so good. And I'm just like, it's a damn shame, but we've still got 4 out of the 5. We'll be fine. And I was proud of myself. Like, I'm proud of my 20-year-old self, that I had that much trust and faith in my teammates. That like, even when we lost our star player, I knew that we were going to pull it back together.
That's pretty based.
Yeah,
pretty damn based.
Small thing that I noticed. But for me, MSI, it's really important that I get to a level where I'm individually like playing at a very high level, and it's important to me that I do that. That matters to me a lot.
How much are you keeping up with LCK and LPL? Like, who do you want to beat? Who do you look forward to facing up against?
Well, T1's in our group, so I really want to beat PSG and play against T1. I really don't want to go international just to play PSG twice and go home, or like play PSG then EST or whatever the fuck, and then lose. Like, no offense and like whatever, but I don't want to have spent all this effort in Korea to play against teams that are, you could find in an A, basically,
Okay.
That for me would be a damn shame, So for me, it's really important that I come out swinging and I am a damn threat on stage because I want to play. I need to play a best of 3 against Zeus and more. I really I need that. Like for me, it's what I live for. Really, I came to this conclusion. Like this is my passion. Like, this is it. This is the moment.
Nice.
I've set aside so many things in my life to make this happen. Without even realizing it, it came naturally to do these things. It was second nature to do these things. I've never really understood or like how much different my life is from normal people. Where they move away from mom back home, and then they like they still talk to their mom, and their parents help them and do that. Like I had none of that. I gave up all of that. My parents haven't seen me basically for 5 years.
Yeah.
My girlfriend, I don't have a relationship that's normal where it's like, like I do my job 9 to 5, then or like whatever my work hours are, they're like 8 or 9 hours a day, and then I come home and we hang out and we do dates and stuff. None of that. I gave up all of that so that I could be one of the best players in the world. And in an international event is the opportunity to prove that it is fucking worth it, Like it was worth it because I am one of the best. Not that I was. And this MSI and this FlyQuest, this opportunity FlyQuest gave me is exactly that. To prove those that I still am. My org, my fans, myself, everyone. And I really, really want to make it count. And I don't know if I will or won't, because that's the beauty of competition.
Yeah.
If you knew what was going to happen, you wouldn't watch or you wouldn't care, right? Like who cares about that? But I want to make damn sure I leave no holds barred when it comes to achieving this result.
I said it before we started recording. It's like competition is running as fast as you can in a race that you don't know the distance in. And, that's 100% the beauty of it, because at the end of the day, when you stand victorious, you have measured active effort, in a way that happens so purely. And of course, League. There's of course moments where you get carried and so forth. That's also the nature of the game, and sometimes some games are easier than others, but that's the beauty of competition. I think it's beautiful how aware you are of your sacrifices, because I think it serves as such a additional motivator. Because on my end as well, like in terms of what my parents have given me in terms of opportunity and what they went through to make sure that I have everything that I need and I have the opportunity to do as much as possible. I think the same weight my brother carried. In essence, it's like if I don't use this opportunity with everything that's been put in to make me have this chance, and all that I put in to make this chance, all we've sacrificed to be in this moment, to not do it with as much intensity as possible would be to disrespect everything and the sacrifice that we've done and what other people also have done, right? Because as you mentioned, it's like we skip out on all those things and we miss out on all those things, but it's the same for our loved ones, right? Like with Elena, we've been together now for 8 years and we are engaged, and I'm very, very happy. I wouldn't want anything else in the world. But I mentioned to you as well, it's like the sacrifice on her end to always live a life where, my fiance now is going to be busy for the next 3 years because he just signed the contract, and I know the way he works. I'm going to get like, when I spend time with him, it's going to be like this version that is so drained and so in its own head about what's going on in the team, like this washed variant. Maybe I get like 1 hour of quality time maximum in a week, where we watch some series and he's half falling asleep, because otherwise it's just 11 in the office, 2 a.m., come back home. There was something that went on. We need to discuss something. There's always something more to be done, and there's no other way
sure
to.
Is.
There's no other way to compete. It's like this, I can imagine the same for you. It's like you have this opportunity now. You sat on the fucking bench for 1 year. It's like, bro, you're gonna fucking take it, you know? Because I know you, you know. This is just how you are.
I mean, I really try. I would really do plan on trying. It's crazy. You know, it's been lovely, but honestly, I'm griefing one of my teammates right now, so I want to live up to what I was talking about and live in the moment right now. I'm gonna have to call it here.
Really?
I can tell he's waiting for me. I'm sorry.
Okay.
He needs some sleep more than I do, but he's waiting on me, so it's time to go home.
I want to talk about LCS, and I want to talk about, you know.
We can record some more tomorrow if you like. I just want to make sure he gets some good sleep because he needs it. He needs it a lot, and he's making an effort to stay up. I can tell. I
think you know what we do. We do another one post MSI. You know. I think that's
that sounds fantastic. I'd love that. I think post MSI I'll be able to talk about what actually went on in the bootcamp and you know, the results as well, because I look forward to it. I'm super excited. I'd love to talk more, but like I said, it's my turn to.
It's no problem at all. I can tell
take responsibility.
I watched some PSG. I think you guys are gonna beat those guys. I don't want to fill your head with air, but I think you're gonna beat those guys.
Yeah.
And you fucking give Zeus a little show, you know? Give Zeus a little show.
I will do that. Sorry for cutting it short.
No worries, no worries. I'm happy that you could take the time. I'm happy that you could take the time. You're busy boot camping, busy practicing. Keep up the good work, Bwip. It's just good to
Thank you so much.
to you. I wish you all the best.
Likewise.
Okay? Have a good
rest. Take care. Bye bye.
Take care. Bye bye.